What's going on, everybody? I hope you're all having a great start to your day so far. This is our voiceover for early American history. The reason why I'm doing this voiceover for all of you is just in case you happen to miss class, or say you missed a point in class where you're like, hey, I want to refer back to something in our lecture, you can do so. I'll be posting this video on our classroom page for you to have access to it for the rest of the semester. So today's lesson is on early American history. Our lesson objective for today, or we'll call it our big idea, is we're going to really dive into the migration patterns of people into the Americas. We'll look at that. We'll look at American Indians. We'll learn a little bit about the Age of Exploration. Christopher Columbus. We'll hop into the Enlightenment. So we'll cover those concepts today. So with that being said, we'll get started. So approximately 40 to 60,000 years ago, scientists believe ancient people migrated to the Americas across the Bering Strait. Bering Strait right here, it connects Siberia to Alaska. Scientists believe that there was a land bridge, maybe because of the Ice Age, that connected these two areas, so people were able to walk across. Another theory is that they got to a certain point where land stopped, so the early people boated over to this side, to the Americas. It is theorized that people were following the migration patterns of mammals. So once the early hunter-gatherers got into this area, they migrated and they spread out between North and South America. American Indians. So for this specific slide, it's important that we realize that American Indians had diverse cultures. They weren't all the same. You could tell by this this picture over here. It's broken up, color coordinated, pretty nice. So say people migrated to this northwest portion, it'd be different than migrating over into the Great Plains. For this specific portion, the northwest culture shared common traits such as fishing. They lived close to bodies of water. So salmon, woodworking, it's that Pacific Northwest, gets a lot of rain. They had large villages and towns, and they shared a social structure of some sort. So clans right here, and what they mean by clans is a clan is a group of people united by actual or perceived kinship and descent. Remember that these American Indians were impacted by climate and geography of the region they lived. So this gives you a great representation of what that looks like. It was broken up pretty nicely. 1400s. So we have the European Age of Exploration. What that was just voyages from Europe across the globe. The main reasons, we'll highlight three of them today, but the main reasons were economic reasons, religious reasons, and fame and glory reasons. So, as far as economics go, to improve one's economy, to make more money, you went and traveled. So these people were traveling, acquiring spices, gold, and they were establishing better and faster trade routes. As far as religion goes, people wanted to spread Christianity to other parts of the world. That was their call. They wanted to do that and grow the faith. The third thing, fame and glory. These explorations, you were able to travel and explore and gain new stories and immerse yourself into the resources and the culture. You'd come back with these stories and potential riches. It made you very famous in your region. The first country who really set the stage for exploration was Portugal. Prince Henry the Navigator explored Africa and the Atlantic in the 1400s. 1492, Christopher Columbus. An easy way to remember when he sailed. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. Kind of rhymes. I think most of us have kind of heard that expression before, that saying before. Columbus reached the Americas in search of the West Indies. He called the Native Americans that he found or he saw there Indians. He realized that there were people who reached this land prior to him. There were actually millions of people living in the American continents before Columbus ever even arrived. Spanish invaders, conquistadors is what they're called, took over the land in the Caribbean, Central, and South Carolina. The Jamestown colony. Jamestown right in that Virginia area. So the English established a settlement in Jamestown, Virginia. The name Jamestown, it comes from the King of England at the time, King James. So that they were very creative with their name, right? So Jamestown, the colony, it was the first establishment for settlement in the country. It was a group of about 100 men and boys. They were met by famine, disease, and conflict with the Native Americans there. It became a spot where tobacco was cultivated, so that was a big export. The Columbian Exchange. What it was a widespread transfer of plants, animals, culture, population, diseases, and ideas between the Americas, West Africa, and the Old World in that 15th and 16th century. So this gives us a good little picture. North America, they were bringing back tobacco, all these things, sweet potato, avocado, to Europe. Europe's bringing it through Africa. Africa's bringing it back to North America. So just like this. We have the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment. Most of us have heard this of the Enlightenment before. Another name for the Enlightenment is the Age of Reason. It was in the 17th and 18th century. It was a movement that stressed reason and individualism over tradition. So the real stress was just reason. Using reason, it promoted logical thinking. Philosophers really analyzed truth during this time. The main conclusion was you should really, really value reason over superstition, as opposed to like listening to you have to listen to this because we tell you it's right. No, you got to reason your way through it. And then science over blind faith. So why is this here? What does this mean? Actually trying to find reasons behind certain truths that you were told growing up that you had to believe. John Locke, this man right here, he really laid the groundwork for the Enlightenment. Natural rights, social contract, and classical liberalism really define who this man is. As far as natural rights, life, liberty, and property. The most basic human law of nature is the preservation of mankind. Really, that's what Locke promoted. That's what Locke stated. The social contract. Some of you have heard of a social contract before. You might have one in a class, like promoting responsibility, respect, your effort, all that good stuff. For Locke, it was an agreement defining the rights and duties of each citizen. Classical liberalism, we'll just kind of throw that term out there for you. It was really a revolutionary force. Rights pre-existing the government. So humans had rights pre-existing the government, and then the government exists to protect those human rights, those natural rights. So the government needs to protect those rights, not walk all over them. Our last slide we're going to get to today is on Montesquieu. So Montesquieu was another great thinker in this Enlightenment period. He came up with this whole idea of separation of powers. So the separation of powers, what it was dividing government power into three different branches. So three different branches. We have our legislative branch, which is our lawmaking branch, our judicial, which is judge, and then our executive, which includes the president, our commander-in-chief. So what it was equal but different powers. That way, the government would avoid placing too much power with one individual / group of individuals. Remember, back when England was the motherland, the king had absolute power, and the people didn't want that. They wanted balance, and the separation of powers allowed that. So you have that executive, legislative, and judicial powers were separate and kept in check to prevent any branch from becoming too powerful. So that's what Montesquieu really promoted, and we still see that today. So that's where we're going to end today. Let me know if you have any questions. Reach out via email, but I hope this was helpful.